Daily masturbation after 60, what it really does to your prostate health. He was fine at dinner, laughing with his family, enjoying the evening. By morning, he was gone. The cause wasn't a heart attack or stroke, but a silent prostate cancer that spread without warning. And the heartbreaking part, it might have been prevented with something as simple as staying sexually active, even alone. This isn't a scare tactic. This is real life. The prostate is often called the silent gland because it rarely speaks until damage is already done. But here's the controversial truth. Daily masturbation after 60 may not only ease urinary problems, it could cut your cancer risk dramatically. Studies have shown this, yet few men hear it from their doctors. So in today's video, I'll reveal 6 hidden truths about your prostate, your hormones, and your health after 60. Stay to the end, because I'll also show you the common kitchen food that acts like armor for your prostate cells. Before we begin, please subscribe, hit like if you believe men deserve the truth, and comment below. Do you think prostate health is talked about enough, or kept too silent? Secret 1. Prostate congestion if you stop ejaculating. As men grow older, many notice that their nightly trips to the bathroom become more frequent. At first, you might dismiss it, thinking it was just the glass of water you had before bed, or perhaps the chill of the evening air. But as the weeks go on, the problem worsens. You find yourself awake 4, 5, even 6 times every night, standing over the toilet with a weak stream, staring at the ceiling when you return to bed, and wondering if this is what life will be like from now on. I remember a man named Michael, 68 years old, who came to see me not long after his wife passed away. He was a strong, hard-working man who had lived most of his life with quiet dignity. But when he sat across from me, rubbing his forehead, he looked exhausted. He told me, "Doc, I can't remember the last time I ejaculated. It has been years, and now I can't sleep. I feel this dull ache in my lower body, and I run to the bathroom constantly. I just thought this was old age catching up to me." What Michael didn't realize is something most men never hear. The prostate is not designed to be a storage tank. It is a living gland that constantly produces fluid, and when that fluid isn't released regularly, it builds up. Picture a sponge that is soaked with water but never squeezed out. Over time, it becomes swollen, heavy, and inflamed. That is what happens inside your prostate when ejaculation stops for months or years. Doctors call this prostate congestion, and its symptoms are familiar to millions of men: the constant urge to urinate, the weak stream, the nagging pelvic pressure, and the feeling that your bladder is never completely empty. But beyond discomfort, congestion is dangerous because stagnant fluid irritates the gland, triggers chronic inflammation, and even increases the risk of abnormal cell growth. Science confirms what experience shows. A landmark Harvard study that followed nearly 30,000 men found that those who ejaculated at least 21 times each month had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculated only a few times. The reason is simple. Each ejaculation flushes the gland, clearing out old fluid and harmful substances before they can build up and cause damage. It is the body's natural cleansing cycle, designed to protect you. Now, this is important to understand. Ejaculation at this age is not about chasing youth or indulgence. It is about maintenance. The same way you change the oil in your car or clean the filter in your furnace. You are not doing it to prove anything. You are doing it to keep the system healthy and working smoothly. When Michael finally understood this, he began to let go of his shame. Slowly, with intention. He started to reintroduce regular release into his life. Within weeks, his sleep improved, the pressure in his pelvis eased, his urinary symptoms became less severe, and he felt, in his words, like my body was finally cooperating again. So if you have been avoiding this subject out of embarrassment, I want you to hear this clearly. Regular ejaculation, even through masturbation, is not a weakness. It is an act of self-care. Start small, once or twice a week, without guilt or pressure. Treat it as medicine for your body, and allow yourself to notice the difference over time. Here's my challenge. If you've been waking up multiple times each night, Try this simple practice for a month and then share your experience in the comments below. Because the truth is clear, a healthy prostate does not stay healthy by accident. It stays healthy because you give it the care it needs. And part of that care is regular release. Secret 2. Hormonal crash without sexual activity. Most men assume that testosterone simply fades away with age. The same way hair slowly turns gray, or eyesight gradually weakens. And they accept this decline as an unavoidable part of getting older. But the truth is more complicated. While age does play a role, one of the most powerful accelerators of hormonal decline is not age itself, but the decision to stop engaging with your sexual self. When intimacy disappears, even the private, quiet intimacy of masturbation, the brain interprets that silence as a message. He doesn't need this anymore. And once that message is received, the body responds by producing less testosterone than before. I remember a man named Frank, a retired firefighter, 73 years old. In his younger years, he was the kind of man who seemed to carry energy with him everywhere he went, broad shoulders, upright posture, a voice that filled a room. But the day he came into my office, he was different. His head was lowered, his steps were slower, and his words came out flat. "Doc," he said quietly, "I don't feel like myself anymore. I wake up tired. I have no strength. I don't even feel like a man." We checked his labs, and his testosterone was barely above clinical deficiency. And when I asked about sexual activity, he admitted he hadn't touched himself in years because, in his words, "What's the point anymore?" This is the hidden danger. Testosterone is not only about sex drive, it fuels energy, strength, bone density, memory, focus, and even the confidence you carry in your voice and your posture. And sexual activity, whether with a partner or through self-stimulation, helps to preserve it. Each time you become aroused, the brain and the testicles exchange signals that reinforce hormonal rhythm. When that activity disappears, the rhythm weakens, testosterone levels drop faster, and the consequences ripple into every part of your life. Fatigue sets in, muscles soften, belly fat creeps in, mood declines, and heart risks rise. Before long, you stop recognizing the man in the mirror, not because of age alone, but because your biology has quietly switched off functions it believes you no longer want. The encouraging news is that this decline is not irreversible. In Frank's case, we started slowly, with no pressure and no shame, just simple, intentional self-touch, done as an act of care rather than a test of performance. Over the following months, he began to change. His voice carried more strength, his eyes brightened, and his testosterone improved. It wasn't a miracle, it was simply his body responding to the signal that life was still active. So if you have been feeling drained, heavy, or disconnected, think of masturbation after 60 not as an indulgence but as a form of hormone therapy that costs nothing and carries no side effects. Support it with the basics, regular strength training to remind the muscles they still matter, a diet rich in zinc, magnesium, and healthy fats to fuel natural testosterone production, and quality sleep to give your body the chance to restore itself overnight. Most importantly, create rhythm. Your hormones thrive on consistency, not randomness. And here's my challenge for you. If you've been feeling weaker or less alive, acknowledge it openly. Type the letter H in the comments below, and know that you're not alone. Because losing testosterone isn't just about losing a number on a lab test. It is about losing vitality, clarity, and the quiet spark that makes each day worth living. Don't hand that over to age without a fight. Remind your body that you still need it, because your biology is always listening. Secret 3. Use it or lose it. Erection function. Think about what happens to a muscle you never use. At first, it feels a little stiff. Then it weakens, and eventually, it loses its ability to respond altogether. The same principle applies to erections. An erection is not just a matter of desire, it is a complex interaction of blood vessels, nerves, and smooth muscle. And like any system in the body, it follows the rule, use it or lose it. One of my patients, Harold, was 69 when he sat across from me. He had been married for decades, but after his wife's health declined, intimacy slowly disappeared from their lives, out of love and respect. Harold stopped bringing it up, and in time, he stopped touching himself as well. Years passed, and when he finally tried to be intimate again, his body simply would not respond. He looked at me with watery eyes and said, "Doc, it feels like I lost a part of myself, physiologically." What Harold experienced was not unusual. Erections depend on healthy blood flow into the penis, and when the tissue is not used, small changes begin to take place. The smooth muscle fibers are gradually replaced by scar-like tissue in a process called fibrosis. Blood vessels stiffen, nitric oxide signaling weakens, and the ability to trap and hold blood inside the erectile chambers declines. Over time, this can make erections weaker, shorter, and eventually impossible. This is why maintaining regular erections, even through masturbation, is not simply about pleasure, it is about preserving the health of the tissue. Each erection brings a rush of oxygen-rich blood into the penis, keeping the smooth muscle flexible, the nerves responsive, and the vessels open. Without that stimulation, the system quietly atrophies. Just as a muscle withers when left unused, the good news is that it is never too late to begin again. Harold eventually accepted this truth and started incorporating regular, intentional self-stimulation into his life. At first, the changes were subtle, a little more firmness, a little more responsiveness, but over the months, his body remembered, he told me with a smile. "It's not the same as when I was young, but it's mine again." And that means everything. For men listening now, the takeaway is simple. If you want to preserve your erectile function, do not let silence and shame rob you of this essential act of self-care. Regular erections are maintenance, just like exercise is for your muscles and stretching is for your joints. Even if you no longer have a partner, your body still needs the signal. Support this practice with other healthy habits. Cardiovascular exercise, like brisk walking or cycling, helps improve blood flow. Kegel exercises strengthen the pelvic floor, making it easier to maintain control. An anti-inflammatory diet supports the health of your blood vessels from the inside out. So here is my invitation. If you believe in the saying, use it or lose it, type the letter U in the comments below. Let's break the silence together and remind each other that this is not about youth or vanity. It is about keeping the system alive. Remember, erections are not only about intimacy, they are about circulation, tissue health, and identity. Keep them active, and you preserve more than function. You preserve freedom, confidence, and the quiet pride of still being yourself. Secret 4. Shame and emotional disconnect. Of all the burdens men carry into their later years, shame may be the heaviest. It is not the gray hair, not the wrinkles, not even the slower body that steals the most from us. It is the quiet voice inside that says, "This part of you is dirty, childish, or ridiculous." For many men over 60, that voice becomes loudest when the subject of masturbation comes up. I recall meeting Lawrence, a 72-year-old who had been divorced for nearly a decade. He came into my office complaining of fatigue and sadness when I asked about intimacy. He laughed bitterly and shook his head. "Doc," he said, "at my age, that's embarrassing. I haven't touched myself in years. It just feels wrong." As he spoke, I could see the heaviness in his posture and the defeat in his eyes. What Lawrence did not realize was that his shame had become a direct attack on his emotional and physical health. The body is not designed to suppress its natural rhythms indefinitely when intimacy is denied, especially out of guilt. Stress hormones like cortisol rise. Elevated cortisol, over time, weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and worsens inflammation. At the same time, the brain's reward chemicals dopamine and oxytocin decline, leaving a man more vulnerable to depression, loneliness, and isolation. Science has repeatedly shown that sexual expression, whether shared with a partner or experienced alone, plays a vital role in mental health. It regulates mood, lowers stress, and improves sleep. Yet countless older men cut themselves off from this simple therapy because of outdated beliefs planted in their youth. In trying to be proper or respectable, they end up carrying a much heavier burden, a life stripped of joy, touch, and release. For Lawrence, the turning point came when he reframed the act. Instead of thinking of masturbation as something shameful, he began to see it as self-care. He started slowly, giving himself permission to feel without judgment, and the change was undeniable. Within months, his mood lifted, his sleep improved, and he began reconnecting with family and friends with a lighter spirit, as he told me later. I stopped seeing it as something I was too old for, and I started seeing it as something that kept me alive. So here is what I want every man listening to remember. Masturbation after 60 is not a weakness, it is not a failure, and it is not something to be ashamed of. It is a natural expression of health, dignity, and self-respect. When you deny it, you are not proving strength. You are inviting emotional disconnection and physical decline. My challenge for you is simple. If you have ever felt shame around this subject, write yes in the comments. Let the world see that you are not alone. Break the silence, because shame thrives only in darkness. Once spoken, it loses its power. A man without shame is not a man without morals. He is a man who understands that caring for his body and mind is not something to hide, but something to honor. And when you honor yourself, you open the door to a life filled with more peace, more connection, and more freedom than shame could ever offer. Secret 5. Prostate enlargement and aging changes. After the age of 40, one truth becomes unavoidable. The prostate rarely stays the same size. With each passing decade, it slowly grows larger, and for many men, this change brings a series of frustrating and sometimes frightening symptoms. The medical term is benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, and although it is not cancer, it can feel like a thief stealing your sleep, your comfort, and your confidence. One man I remember well was George, 67 years old, who came into my office looking worn down. He said, "Doc, I don't understand. I've always been healthy. I walk every day. I eat well. But I can't go through the night without getting up at least 4 times to pee. Sometimes I stand there and nothing even comes out. It's driving me crazy." What George was experiencing was classic BPH. As the prostate enlarges, it presses against the urethra, the thin tube that carries urine from the bladder out of the body. That pressure makes the stream weaker, creates the feeling that the bladder is never quite empty, and forces the bladder muscle to work harder, which is why men end up making so many exhausting trips to the bathroom. The process is fueled by several factors. One of the main drivers is hormonal, as testosterone levels decline with age. More of it is converted into a potent hormone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. High levels of DHT stimulate the prostate to grow, cell by cell, until the gland is swollen and congested. Add to that decades of mild inflammation and the normal wear of aging cells, and the result is a prostate that simply becomes too big for its own space. Now, here's what many men do not realize. An enlarged prostate does not just make life inconvenient. Chronic retention of urine can increase the risk of bladder infections, kidney strain, and a constant low-grade inflammation inside the prostate over the years. This inflammation creates an environment where abnormal cells are more likely to develop. This is why every urologist emphasizes the importance of monitoring BPH carefully. It is not only about comfort, it is about long-term protection. The good news is that there are practical ways to ease the burden. Regular medical checkups, including the PSA test and the digital rectal exam, are essential. Diet makes a difference as well. Foods rich in antioxidants, especially cooked tomatoes, which are loaded with lycopene, have been shown to support prostate health. Physical activity, particularly strength training and aerobic exercise, helps regulate hormones and keep the urinary system working efficiently. And never underestimate the value of hydration. Drinking enough water keeps urine diluted and helps the bladder empty more smoothly. When George began making these adjustments, more tomatoes in his meals, daily brisk walks, better hydration, and regular checkups, his nights changed within months. He went from 4 bathroom trips down to 1, and he told me with relief, "Doc, I finally slept through the night for the first time in years. So here is my ask for you. If you have ever heard the term BPH or felt the frustration of a weak stream, type the letter B in the comments. Let's make it clear that this is not just your struggle. It is something millions of men face. Remember this: enlargement of the prostate may be common, but it is not untouchable. With awareness, diet, exercise, and medical care, you can manage it and prevent it from defining your later years, because your nights should belong to rest, not to the bathroom floor. Secret 6. The lifestyle pillars for prostate longevity. By now, you understand that masturbation and regular release play an important role in keeping the prostate healthy. But here is the truth I want you to remember. You cannot out-masturbate a bad lifestyle. Ejaculation helps, but it is only one part of a larger picture. If you want your prostate to serve you well into your 70s and 80s, you must build a foundation of daily habits that protect it from every angle. I call these the 4 pillars of prostate longevity. The first pillar is annual medical checkups. This one cannot be skipped. Beginning in your 40s, or earlier if prostate problems run in your family, you should see a urologist once a year. 2 simple tests make the difference. The PSA blood test, which measures a protein linked to prostate changes, and the digital rectal exam, which allows the doctor to feel the gland for abnormalities. Many men dread this exam, but the truth is it takes only seconds, and it has saved countless lives by catching cancer early. One of my patients, a 61-year-old named Franklin, discovered an early tumor thanks to a routine screening because it was caught at stage 1. He was treated successfully and is now living a full and healthy life. The second pillar is an anti-inflammatory diet. The foods you eat every day either fuel inflammation or fight against it. Red meat, fried food, processed snacks, and excess sugar all make the prostate work harder and increase swelling inside the gland. On the other hand, foods like leafy greens, berries, fatty fish, nuts, and olive oil provide antioxidants and healthy fats that keep inflammation under control. One of the most powerful foods you can add is the humble tomato. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, an antioxidant shown in numerous studies to protect prostate cells. And here is a simple tip. Lycopene is absorbed best when tomatoes are cooked, so sauces, soups, and pastes are actually more effective than raw slices. The third pillar is consistent physical activity. Exercise is not just about heart health or weight management. It also helps regulate hormones that directly affect the prostate. Brisk walking for 30 minutes most days of the week keeps circulation strong and lowers inflammation. Strength training helps maintain testosterone levels, keeping DHT in check. And then there are Kegel exercises, which most men have never heard of. By contracting and relaxing the muscles of the pelvic floor, you strengthen the support system for the bladder and prostate, improving urinary control and preventing leakage. One man, Henry, 66 years old, started doing simple Kegel routines while watching television, and within 3 months, he was able to sleep through the night without accidents for the first time in years. The fourth and final pillar is hydration. It sounds almost too simple, but drinking enough water throughout the day has a direct effect on your prostate and urinary system. When urine is concentrated, it irritates the bladder and prostate, making symptoms worse. When urine is diluted with plenty of water, the system functions more smoothly. Flushing out toxins and reducing irritation, aim for at least 2 to 3 liters of water a day, adjusting for your size and activity level. Carrying a water bottle may not feel glamorous, but the long-term benefits are undeniable. Together, these 4 pillars form the base of prostate longevity. Checkups give you the information you need. Diet fuels your body with the right building blocks. Exercise keeps the system active and balanced. Hydration cleanses it day after day. And when you add regular ejaculation on top of this foundation, you create the strongest possible defense against enlargement, inflammation, and disease. So here is my invitation. Look at these 4 pillars and choose one to begin today. Write the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the comments to show which habit you are going to focus on first. Because change begins not with talk, but with action. Your prostate will not stay healthy by chance. It stays healthy because you choose to care for it. And every small choice from the food on your plate to the steps you take in the morning to the glass of water you drink before bed is a vote for your future freedom. We have traveled a long road together in this conversation, from the quiet question most men never ask out loud, to the 6 powerful truths about how daily masturbation and lifestyle choices affect your prostate after 60. You have learned that when you stop ejaculating, the prostate becomes congested, inflamed, and restless. You have seen how a lack of intimacy can accelerate hormonal decline, leaving you tired, weak, and disconnected. You now know that erections follow the law of use it or lose it, and that shame can quietly poison both body and mind. We looked at the natural enlargement of the prostate with age, and most importantly, we uncovered the 4 lifestyle pillars that protect it for the long run. The lesson is simple but profound. Your prostate does not stay healthy by accident. It stays healthy because you take deliberate steps to care for it. Regular release, healthy food, consistent movement, hydration, and annual checkups. These are not luxuries, they are lifelines. And when you embrace them, you are not just protecting a gland, you are protecting your freedom, your dignity, and the quality of the years still ahead of you. So here is my closing challenge. Look at your life and choose one change to make this week. Perhaps it is adding more tomatoes to your meals. Perhaps it is taking a 20-minute walk. Perhaps it is letting go of shame and giving yourself permission to release again. Whatever you choose, write it in the comments below. By sharing it, you not only commit to yourself, but you encourage another man who might be struggling in silence. If this message has spoken to you, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with a friend or brother who needs to hear it. Your health is in your hands. Care for it, and it will care for you.